Hello, welcome back to Brevet Sports and another edition of Bike Prep. Today is Thursday. In 2 days, Saturday, I've got a 300K with the rest of the Rev gang. Well, actually only two, so Barbara and Lori. And I wanted to take you through how I have my bike set up, and maybe you can get some ideas on how to set your bike up. And a lot of races require a pre-race inspection of your bike and or your vehicle if you need to have certain signage on your vehicle, lights, and things like that. But this is an unsupported event because it's a 300K Brevet, and so there's no vehicle to get inspected, but you just have to have your own body and your bike with reflective tape and stuff. So what I wanted to show you is just a little thing that I do to ensure that I have good quality tape, and then the ease of removing it, ease of install and ease of removal. So I'll take you through this real quick and then I'll talk about some other things. So the first thing I wish to talk to you about is here. So this is DOT tape that I get from any type of auto parts store. If you've come up behind a tractor trailer on a freeway, you'll see how reflective this tape is because it's on the back of the tractor trailer, and it's usually on the cross members underneath the actual bed or the container itself. It's on the bottom to keep cars, I guess, from, so cars know, oh, there's something there. And so what I do is I put down a piece of black electrical tape first, and then I put this tape down. And the reason I do that is the longer this tape stays on there, it is significantly difficult to take it off. It's kind of like a fish scale, and it just becomes very difficult to take off. And apologies, but I do have a truck that's probably going to be quite noisy, so I'll try to speak up a little bit so you can hear me. So that's for me a simple hack where I put a piece of black electrical tape down, and then I put on this reflective strip. Now the other thing I wanted to show you is that I always run, and you can see it right here with this camera angle, I always run black reflective tape on my fork anyway, right? I put it on there a long time ago and it's just been on there. And so there's black electrical tape underneath this, and then black reflective tape right there. So it's always visible whether I'm racing an ultra or not. And then of course you just gotta hit the main triangle, and then the rear triangle. I'll show you what I do there, the crank arm. And you could go, it just depends on the rules. You may do leading edge, trailing edge, and then of course on the side. So there's the triangle. So what I like to do on the back is I like to use red reflective tape. So you can see that there. So red reflective tape there. I like to put it on my seat post. I'm lucky enough that I have a long enough seat post that I can put that on there. On an Ultra, I always run two tail lights. Not both of them on all the time, but at least I have a backup. And everything about Ultras is having backups. It's always about having enough gear to get through an event for your own safety, but also so you don't get disqualified, a DQ, right? And as far as my lights, I've always had trouble with this particular handlebar, but this exposure light has a rubber strap, and underneath here it's not fitting right. So you can see this is where the round handlebar would go, but it's so tight that it's very secure. So that's going to be fine. And so that's an exposure strata light. And I just did a quick demo last night Well, this fell off once before. That's what all that scratches are. But this typically is to cover this part of the beam so it doesn't shine in your face. But I'm probably going to put a little bit more tape here and here, because usually this would be underneath like a headlight or centered on the handlebar, and then you wouldn't have this exposed. And I think that'll mess with my night vision. But so that's that. The cycling computer is rated for 15 hours. So this is 187 miles. So I mean, 12 hours is a reasonable goal. 11 hours is another reasonable goal, and then a stretch goal would be 10 hours, which would be 18.7 miles per hour for 187 miles. And of course, total time, so you've got to count in your stops and all that stuff. Okay, so headlight, computer that goes for about 15 hours. The headlight, one of the things I like about exposure lights is, in case you're not aware, so if you look there, you can program your headlight to last as long as you want it to. And, you know, at a high, medium, or low setting, and then the number of hours. And that's the program to give you that, right? So in this particular case, we're launching at 6:34. I'm sorry, we're launching at 6, but sunrise is 6:34. And so, you know, if I were king for a day, I would have launched at 6:34. That way, you're not using your headlight, taillight, and all that stuff for the first half hour of the ride, and then, you know, you're out there for another 10, because there's 11 hours of daylight, so you'd be out there for another 10 hours with stuff you don't really need, right? Okay, so the chainring setup 5339 with an 1132. That's just a cassette that's on there. I don't feel like swapping it out. That's usually for, you know, a lot of steep climbing in this area, but this is a flat desert 300K, about 3,500 feet is what's advertised. Now, let's talk a little bit more about equipment. These are 28 Grand Prix, or GP5000 as most people call it. So GP5000 STR, this is the latest iteration of their tubeless tire for commercial use. You know, they've got all these special editions for time trialing and other stuff they're probably making for the teams, but this is, you know, this is what we would ride. And so I have 28s on here. For those who have asked about how the Headjet 60s, which is a 25 rim, these are about 28.4 with the calipers on there, but there's plenty of room in the fork and there's plenty of room in the chainstay to run 28 tires on this Bianchi XR4. And then if we look down here, you will see the same. There's plenty of space, and we're not going to be riding in mud, you know, possibly some sand because we're in the desert, but I'll do one last cleanup of this bike, and then that'll be it. I was supposed to ride today, but lots of other things came up, so I did not get a chance to ride today. Now, a couple of more things I want to show you. This is the helmet, right? So we've got reflective strip, front, back, sides, right? Same thing, black electrical tape, so then I can just pull it off whenever I need to. Oh, someone may ask, oh, but that black electrical tape, that's gonna fall off. Well, in fact, this piece right here has been on since September of 2020, and it's now February of 2023. So yeah, it will stay on, just black electrical tape, nothing fancy. But anyway, so when you have your helmet set up this way, you should be just fine getting through inspection. And then I've got two vests just in case. I prefer this one because it's form-fitting, but then the old standby here is and these are Nathan vests because I was a Nathan sponsored athlete years and years ago. Now, last thing before we go. This right here is your standard 26 ounce Specialized, and by the way, they have cornered the market on making custom bottles. So Specialized Purist bottle, fantastic bottles, and then the lid. But what you'll see here is right in the middle, this is called a bottle called Further, and that 38 means 38 ounces of fluid. So if you have a 26 standard bottle, that would be 12 ounces of extra fluids. And this one's like, I think 30, 33, 34, I can't remember. There is some spec on that, but I don't remember what it was. I just fill it up and I go. But this is essential depending on where you're riding and depending on how much fluids you like to consume during your rides. Now, generally, I have trained my crew to become part camels. In other words, we go out for 6, 7, 8 hour no rides. That's no stops for refueling, no stops for more water, no stops for potty breaks, just 8 hours, get 150 miles in, and we are not stopping, 8 hours total time. So, the girls are used to riding with these small 26 ounce bottles. Well, small. They're large compared to what racers use because they use the little 22 ounce bottles. But if you need more fluids and you're the type of person who needs more fluids, you sweat a lot, or you just haven't been able to fight off the resistance, or you haven't been able to resist your thirst, then this might be a solution for you. 38 ounces of fluid, if you think about it. You've got 2 of them on your bike if they fit, and now you have the ability to have 24 ounces of more fluids, which is basically another bottle, right? So you're carrying 3 bottles instead of just 2. And this is an alternative to having a hydration rack on the back of your bike, or someone sent, like I said, something that would mount to your down tube and would give you, I think it was a B-rad, and it's just not something I want to do. But this is a very good option, and I've used this before, but this particular event, I just don't think I'm going to need them. But all right, well, that's all for today. That's the bike prep and some other things for the 300K this Saturday, February 11. And then once we get through the 300K, then there's a 400K, 252 miles, and then a 600K, which is 375 miles, something like that. Okay, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you up the road.